Hello, hello. How is everybody doing out there? Just get this microphone in a better spot. There we go. We'll be starting in about 39 seconds. 36 seconds, actually. Looks like things are going quickly. The seconds are going at the same speed that seconds normally go. But anyways, we will be starting in about 20 seconds. I hope you are ready for this quiz mode version of everyday items. I'll explain a little bit more what that is in just a moment once we get the lesson started in about 7 seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about everyday items. This is a lesson that is going to be a little bit different than my other lessons. I'm going to do this lesson in what I'm calling quiz mode. That means instead of showing you the word and a picture of the item, I'm first going to show you a picture of the item. And I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think of what the name of that item is. So if you did watch the lesson on everyday items from a few years ago, you'll have an advantage over the other people. But if you didn't, hopefully you can kind of guess what everything is. If you don't know what it is, I will show you the word. So I'll start by showing you a picture in this English lesson of an everyday item like this item. And then I'll explain what it's used for, but I won't use its name right away. And then after a moment, after me explaining a little bit what it's for, I will reveal what the name is. And hopefully in that time frame, you were able to guess what it is. So welcome to this English lesson about everyday items, quiz mode. I hope you enjoy it. Hey, I do want to say a few things before I start, though. First, welcome to everyone in the chat. Nice to see Key Park, Freddie Wolf, Lolly Lolly, Legend, Deal. Let me scroll down. I know Judith is here. Keen, Huawei, Zhang. Let me scroll back up. Vitor, Unsel, Ruslan. Wait, is Ruslan here, or am I just imagining that? Maybe I'm imagining that. John is here. Ulia, Denny, lots of familiar faces. Cat Diary as well. Good to see all of you. I hope you do enjoy this lesson. Remember, this is going to be a bit of a different type of lesson. If you are here watching it live, when I show you the picture of the item, try to type the name of the item in the chat. Oh, Ruslan is here. Good to see you, Ruslan. Let me see if Ruslan has the first question as well, possibly. Sometimes Ruslan is quick to ask the first question. Oh, your second question today, Ruslan. We'll get to that in a bit. Anyways, I'm talking a little too quickly probably. I hope you enjoy this style of lesson. Remember, if you're watching this live, if you're here right now, when I show you the item, try to type the name of the item into the chat. Hopefully everyone gets the right answer. Also though, please use the chat for fun English conversations with each other. If you have a question, please use the link that Nightbot is sharing in the chat to ask that question, and I will pause at times during the lesson to answer those things. So here we go. Remember, I'm going to show you a picture of an item. I'm going to describe that item, and after about 30 seconds, I'll reveal the word. I'll reveal what the item actually is. Yeah, type it in the chat or just think about it in your mind or get a piece of paper if that will help you. Here we go. So this first item is very handy if you have a sliver in your finger and if you need to pull that sliver out. Okay, you can kind of pinch and get a hold of the sliver and pull it out. You know what a sliver is? When you're working with wood, sometimes you get a sliver. This allows you to pull it out. Some people use it to pluck out hair. Maybe I have a couple hairs that grow really fast here, and sometimes I use this item to pull them out. So your job now is to guess what this item is. Let me show you what the word is. I see some people getting the right answers already. Here we go. There we go. Oh, wrong slide. Tweezers. So in my part of the world, we call these tweezers. Tweezers are really handy for like the things that I said you could use them for. Sometimes I get a sliver and I say to Jen, where are the tweezers? And of course, ends in S, just like scissors. This item has two names. We call it one thing in North America, and it has a different name in the UK. This is something you use when you want to hang clothes up on a clothesline after you wash the clothes. So if you wash your clothes in a washing machine, sometimes in English we say you do laundry. After you do laundry, you will use this item to hang up the clothes so they don't fall off the clothesline. And this is called a clothespin, or apparently in the UK it's called a clothes peg. I made a video once where I called this a clothespin, and many people in the chat or in the comments told me that I was wrong. That wasn't the name, but it has two names. In Canada we call it a clothespin, in the United States, and in the UK you would call it a clothes peg. Now, if you smoke, you might use this item, and this is made by a very famous French company, by the way. This is something you can use if you need a flame. When you flick it, a flame will come out the top. And if you are a smoker, hopefully you're not, because smoking is unhealthy, you might use this item. So this item is called a lighter. So a lighter is something you use when you need to start a fire. When Jen and I have a little campfire outside, I use a lighter to light a fire. When I was a lot younger and when I was someone who did smoke, I had a lighter in my pocket at all times. Now, if you don't have a lighter, you might use these. These come in a box, or they might come in a little folding packet. And when you strike one of these, a flame will start on the end. So this is also something you would use to light a fire. I have one name on my slide. There might be two names for this one, but you would strike this item along the side of the box. They might actually be the strike anywhere variety as well, and it will light a small fire. And these are called matches. You might call these matchsticks. If you were guessing, you might have said this was a matchbox. That would be correct as well, because this little box we might call a matchbox or a box of matches. But these things here, you can strike a match in order to light a fire. Now, we all have nails, and sometimes the nails get a little bit long, and then we need to, I have to use a verb. And this verb's kind of in the name of the item. Sometimes you need to clip your nails, and you would use this item in order to clip them. So you might go to the bathroom and look in a drawer, and you might be looking for this item so that you can clip your nails. And this item is called nail clippers. You might call it a nail clipper. You might call it nail clippers. You can use both. We sometimes just say the clippers. Do you know where the clippers are? And there's also bigger ones that we call toenail clippers, but these are clippers. I say nail clippers with an S, but you can also say nail clipper with no S. That would be fine as well. Now, sometimes you need these stretchy things to hold things. When we make bouquets of flowers, we put one of these around the stems because they stretch and hold the stems together. There are many uses for these items. You might, let me see, I'm thinking sometimes when you buy broccoli, there's one of these on the bottom holding them together as well. And it has a number of different names, but it's definitely something stretchy that you can use to hold something together. And we would call this either a rubber band, that might be Canadian, or an elastic band. Or you might just call it an elastic. So I might say to Jen, hey, do you have a rubber band? I need to, maybe I have a whole bunch of wires I want to hold together. I would put a rubber band on them. This next one might be a little tricky for you. You might not have these in your country, but this is something that you can use to close a bag. Maybe you have a plastic bag and maybe you have a garden and you pick some beans and you're putting them in a plastic bag so you can put them in the freezer, and you would twist the bag and then put this on the end. This is a tricky one. I think some people will be able to get this though. This is what we would call, You can kind of tell by what's happened at the bottom here. That might give you a hint as to what it is. This is a twist tie. So again, if you have a bag and you want to close the bag, you can put a twist tie on it. Also though, if you have a bunch of wires, like let's say I wanted to keep these neat and tidy, I could put a twist tie on these as well and keep them all nice and tidy. So I'm not sure what this is called in other English speaking countries, but this has one use, and this is something that is on the end of the bag that bread comes in. So if you have a loaf of bread in a bag, this will be on the end in order to hold it. Instead of a twist tie, although some bread has twist ties on it, you might have this on the end. A tricky one. I know that when I was a kid, we used to break them in half, and then you could put them on your finger and you could flick them at people. I think this is going to be a tough one for a lot of people, but this is called a bread tie. So a bread tie is something that you find on the end of a bread bag. There might be some countries where they're still made of plastic, but here they're starting to make them out of paper. So here we have paper bread ties that go on the end of our bread bags. And other countries might use other things, yeah. Okay, so this isn't the items that are on it. It's actually the top part of this. So if you have keys, sometimes when you have keys, where are my keys? I think I've lost them. Oh, they're on my other desk. Sometimes when you have keys, you want to keep them all in one place. And so you use this item to keep all of your keys together. So when I was young, I only had 1 or 2 keys. Now I have like 7 or 8 keys, I think, on my, I almost said the word. Sorry. But yes, this is where you would keep your keys. And I like this one because it says safe driving. I think everyone should drive safely if they can. So, couple names here. I would call this a keychain. You also might just call it a key ring. So you see there's just a ring as well. But probably the most common name for this would be a keychain. So a place where you can keep your keys so that they're all in one place and easy to find. Hey, we should do some questions, shouldn't we? I hope you're enjoying this style of lesson. I see lots of you answering in the chat and giving the right answers. I probably should tell you in the chat if you're getting the right answers. I'll try to do that as I learn to do this myself. First question though, from Hung. In today's time, some household appliances are outdated, like brooms, fans, etc. Will you change the household items you use? What would you change first and why? So yeah, there are newer versions of some things, but I don't know if I would change things too quickly. Sometimes I think, oh, it'd be nice to have one of those automatic mops where you squeeze the trigger and then it shoots cleaner on the floor. But then I think, you know, a pail and mop work just fine. But I think if I was to replace something, it might be that. It might be my mop. Although I don't know what you do with the piece of cloth when you're done. From Ruslan, hello, dear teacher Bob. What do you think will be the most useful everyday item in the future? Best wishes, sir. I think different kinds of household robots. I think eventually we'll have, well, we have robots that vacuum and clean floors. I think we'll have robots that tidy up, like pick things up and put books back on shelves. I think that will be what the most useful type of household item will be in the future. And I think there would be just a lot of different kinds of robots. From Hamza, hello, my teacher. I hope you're all right. If I can understand you 100% and I can speak, but I might sometimes get stuck, in which level will I be? So that's tricky because if you can understand me, you're probably level B1 or B2 as a listener, but that doesn't mean you read or write or speak at that level. You have to get all of the things tested individually. You have to figure that out. So, hey, I do want to say hi to all the people in the chat. Hi to Paolo and Krishna and Piki and Kawa and Huawei and Fat Boars and Cat Diary. It's good to see people in the chat. It's fun too to see all of the answers that people were giving during the lesson part, which we'll get back to in a moment. And hi, Madi. I see you there in the chat as well. Very good. Dimitri, good day. Teacher Bob, how are you doing? Which accent for you is, I'm going to add an is, more understandable? What do you think about the Russian accent? So in Canada, there are a lot of people who are new to Canada. People immigrate to Canada. So I think I can understand almost every single accent. So in my area, there are people from all different parts of the world. And they all have a slight accent because of their original language. And I can understand pretty much everybody. We have a phrase, if someone has a thick accent. So if someone has a thick accent, it means their accent makes it difficult to understand them. From Viet. Hi, sir. I moved to a new house. So which place in the house do you often place the electric breakers, or the circuit breakers, we call them? Should I place it in the basement or near the outlets? Thanks. In Canada, most houses have basements, and most circuit or breaker boxes or circuit panels, our electrical panels, are in the basement. Sorry, the right word is electrical panel. The circuit breakers are in an electrical panel in the basement. That's where mine are, and that's where most people have theirs. From Nam. Hello, handsome Bob. Thank you. I wonder that if you could show me how to make a slight shot from rubber bands and sticks. Any warning to recommend? Thanks, sir. So you can make, slingshot. S-L-I-N-G, I think is the word you're looking for. So if you have two sticks with a rubber band, you can make a slingshot, and you can shoot little things at people. Or no, don't shoot things at people. Don't ever do that. Let's see here. Last question. We'll get back to the lesson from Denis. Good morning, Bob. What do you call a small cup that holds condiments? A souffle cup. No, I think we might call it a ramekin. Yeah. So that isn't, we might call it a small bowl, or we might call it a ramekin. A ramekin is a small bowl that you bake things in the oven, but some people do sometimes use them for, they'll fill it with mayonnaise or salsa or some other thing. So let me just see here. I think we have, okay, we're going to go back to the lesson. Let me have a sip of water first. Let me clear my throat a little bit, and let's keep going. What do I want to go to? I think I want to go to this one. Yes. So we just did keychain. You might also just call this car keys, by the way. Where are my car keys? That might be what you would call it, even though you have other keys on it. Okay, here we go. This is something you use when you want to put a shirt or coat in a closet. You would put it on this item, and then you would, I don't want to use the word, but I have to, and then you would hang it in the closet. By the way, that word, the word hang, is in the name of this item. So this is, I'm just going to give you a few minutes or a few seconds to think about it. This is a coat hanger or just a hanger. So when you take off a shirt and you want to put it somewhere like your closet, you put it on a coat hanger, or you put it on a hanger and you put it in your closet. This is similar. We usually have these near doors. You might have a few in your bedroom as well. This is something that is on a wall. And this is similar to the last item. I mean, unless you throw your clothes on the floor, which you shouldn't do, you would use this item to hang up your clothes. And we call this a coat hook. You can also call this a hanger as well. But I would probably call this a coat hook. I actually have one on the wall over there in this room because sometimes I keep my items there. You could also just call it a hook. Okay. So coat hook, hook, just hang your coat on a hook when you get to my place. This is something, it kind of goes along with the lighter. This is something that we do not have any of these in our house. When I was a kid, though, we had lots of these. because a few of my uncles, when they came over, they were smokers. And so they needed this. They needed to use this when they were smoking their cigarettes. I can't believe it, but back then, people used to smoke in their houses. In Canada, most people don't smoke in their houses anymore. And so this is an ashtray, okay? When I was a kid, if my mom or dad had invited people over, we would, as kids, we would put all the ashtrays out in the living room. This is back in the late 70s when people smoked in their houses. But yes, that is an ashtray. So I'm looking for the name of the item that the mug is sitting on. So when you have a mug or a cup, sometimes it gets a little bit wet on the bottom. And so you put this item underneath to protect the table. So I'm looking for the name of the round thing that you see there. This might be a tricky one for you guys. We'll see. But yes, often when you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you will put this item underneath in order to protect the surface. And this is called a coaster. I don't know why it's called a coaster. I always find it kind of a funny word, but this is definitely a coaster. When you drink a hot beverage, you will often put a coaster underneath to protect the surface that it is sitting on. These are things that you put underneath things that are hot as well, but they're a little bit bigger. So when you take something out of the oven and it's really hot, you will put it on one of these so that the pan doesn't burn the surface. So you might put one of these on the table or one of these on the counter and put that your pot on top of it. I can tell that this is a tricky one for you. I think people are trying to figure this one out. Here we go. I call these pot holders. You might also call them hot pads or something like that, but I call them pot holders. And I'm trying to think, there might be another name for them. Hot plate? No, that's not what I call them pot holders, but they're definitely something that you use to, if you have something hot, like a pan, if you're going to put it on a surface. So I'm looking for the name of the thing that is hanging here. This top item is a rear view mirror, but what is this tree looking thing that says, what does it say? Royal Pine on the bottom. Does it have a name on it too? It looks like it does. So this is something people sometimes hang in their car so that their car smells nice. I actually don't like them. I don't like the smell of these kinds of things. I prefer to just have a clean car so that it doesn't need to have one of these in it. This is called an air freshener. So an air freshener is something you hang in your car. People sometimes put air fresheners in their house as well. There's little air fresheners that you can plug into the wall and they keep your house smelling nice. This is something you get after you buy something. So if you go to a restaurant, after you pay, they'll give you this little piece of paper and it will tell you how much you paid. I hope the name of this isn't on it. I'm looking, no, I don't see it on there. This has a couple different names, but yes, if I go to a restaurant or a store and buy something, after I pay, they will give me this piece of paper and it proves that I paid. And I call this a receipt. In a restaurant, you might call it the check. Could I have the check, please? But in Canada, we generally call this a receipt. It's a very common name. And then usually I end up with a pile of receipts laying on my desk because when I get home, I put the receipt on my desk. You might also call it a bill, okay? Receipt and bill. For me, a receipt is a small piece of paper and a bill is a bigger piece of paper, but you could definitely call this a receipt. That would be the most common word for me, or a check or a bill. If you're watching TV, do I have one here? Yes. Oh, I have a bigger one here. So when I was a kid, we didn't have these. If you wanted to change the channel, you had to get off the couch and you had to go and turn a knob. But now we have these handy dandy devices that we can use. And it has a couple different names. One is a shorter version than the other. But this is what we would call a remote control. We sometimes just call it a remote, and some people call it a clicker because you click it. But definitely, if I'm sitting down to watch TV and I can't find this, I will say to Jen, have you seen the remote or have you seen the remote control? So this is what we would call a remote control or a remote. These are what you find in a washroom, in a public place, in a bathroom or restroom. After you wash your hands, they might have a machine that dries your hands, or you might use these. You might take a couple of these and then you might use them to dry your hands. And these, I was going to say what they were made out of, but that's too big of a hint, I think. But yes, definitely if you are we don't have these in our bathrooms at home, but if you're out in public using a public bathroom, you might wash your hands and then use a paper towel to dry your hands. So they kind of look like, no, I'm not going to say it. These are paper towels, and you usually find them in something that looks like this. So we know that these are paper towels, and we know they come in this machine. Well, it's not really a machine. Device. Let's say device. So these are paper towels, and you get them from something called, let's see here, a paper towel dispenser. And I did see someone in the chat get it right. Paper towel dispenser. Etienne, good job. Paper towel dispenser is what we would call that. So I should remind you again, this is it might be a very Canadian lesson. I'm a Canadian, so hopefully you remember that as you learn these words. I think this is what they call it in every English-speaking country, but possibly not. So when you want to mail something, you have to pay money. If I wanted to send you a letter, let me think. If I wanted to send Lolly Lolly a letter in France, I would need to go buy one of these so that it shows that I paid the money required to send the letter. So this is something that you buy at the post office. There's a small hint, and you put it onto an envelope or envelope. I pronounce it two ways. And this is something that we call a postage stamp, or you can just call it a stamp. I might say to Jen, I need to mail a letter. Do we have any stamps left? Or I might say, I'm going to go to the post office to buy some stamps. And by the way, you can buy stamps in other stores as well, but this is definitely a stamp. So this device either keeps your house cool or warm. It can sense the temperature, and it can turn on the heat or the air conditioning so that you can live in a nice, comfortable house. Usually this is on the wall in one room of your house. Usually it's central in your house or apartment. But this is something that will control the heat or the cooling. So it controls either the furnace or the air conditioner. And this is called a thermostat. So a thermostat is a device where you enter in, I want it to be 23 degrees all the time in my house or apartment, and then it makes sure that that is the temperature that it remains in your house. This is similar-ish. This is something you use when you want to know what the temperature is. This particular one you would put in your mouth or under your arm in order to figure out what your body temperature is. You also use these in the kitchen to check the temperature of food. Not this one. There's different styles. But this is something that you use when you want to know what the temperature is outside, or what your temperature is, or the temperature of food or other things. This is called a thermometer. So I'll say it one more time, thermometer. It looks like a giant word, and it's probably a little hard to pronounce, but we would use a thermometer in order to figure out what the temperature is. So yes, I'm not going to pronounce it, but I have heard English learners say this wrong. So I'll say it one more time. Thermometer. There you go. You use a thermometer. So I don't have as much of this anymore as I used to, but as you spend money, you end up having lots of this. And I used to put it in a cup on, oh, I actually have some here right now. So you go and you spend money and then you end up with, well, some people are probably going to guess coins, and that would be correct, but there's another name for it as well. But yes, you spend money. If something is $5 and you give them $10, they'll give you money back, and we would call this change. If you said coins, I think that would be equally correct. I have I have some coins here, but equally in Canadian in Canadian English, I would say this is change. I have change. So I bought some things and I got some change. By the way, this is a loonie. This is a $1 coin here in Canada. This is a toonie. That's a $2 coin. But yes, I have some change here. Oh, and someone said loose change. That is correct as well. Sometimes we just say, you know, in the cup holder in my van, I have some loose change. I don't know why we say loose though. I guess because it's not rolled up. So, oh, so sometimes you order stuff and it will come in one of these. I have one word for this, but there's probably 2 or 3 different words for this. The other day we ordered something from Amazon. And so then the Amazon driver comes and he brings one of these. So I think probably I would call this a package. You might simply call it a box. Like, oh, Amazon dropped off some boxes yesterday. Amazon dropped off some packages yesterday. So I would use either. So if you guessed boxes or you guessed packages, 2 thumbs up, you got that one right. You might also call it a parcel, although I think that's used less. Yeah, you could call it a parcel, definitely. So boxes, packages, or parcels, all of those would work. Good job to the people who got all 3 right. Sometimes at night it's dark. Sometimes the electricity goes out, like there's no power and you can't see, and then you need one of these. This has 2 names. We have one name in North America, in Canada, and in the US, but there's another name if you are in the UK. This has batteries in it, and it is just really handy when you are out at night. We call this a flashlight. I think in the UK they would call this a torch, but we call it a flashlight. So it's nice to have a flashlight. When there's a bad storm, we often will put a flashlight on the kitchen table. So if the power goes out, we can grab it and we can use it until the light comes back on again. So flashlight or torch. I don't call it a torch, but I'm sure English speakers in England call this a torch. Hey, let's do some questions and then we'll get back to the lesson. I am going to skip one of these questions because it's kind of a grammar lesson. Let me do it quick. Vera says, hello, Bob. Have a good day. What's the difference between several, some, and a few? So we have several cats. We have some cats. We have a few cats. For me, if I say I got several boxes yesterday, it means more than some or a few. So I'm going to use exact numbers, but this isn't exactly right. But if I said I got several packages yesterday, that means like 7 or 10. If I said I got some packages yesterday, it means like 4 or 5 maybe. And if I said I got a few, it might mean 2 or 3. But these are not exact. I'm just giving numbers kind of to compare. But in general, yeah, because if I say several or quite a few, I would say that means the same thing. But anyways, let's move on. Harry says, hi, Bob. Why don't you create a community of English learners on Telegram so that we can improve our language skills together? Because, Harry, it would be one more thing for me to manage, and I don't have enough time now to do what I'm doing sometimes. So that's the tricky part. From Hans, hello Bob, hello. I'm moving to an extreme weather place, so I'd like to know a few basic ways to preserve electric items like the computer and machines from getting broken. Little fix there. Thanks, teacher. Tricky. By extreme weather, do you mean lots of rain and moisture, or do you mean it's going to be very cold? If there's going to be a lot of rain and moisture, you'll want to have a dehumidifier in your house, or you'll want air conditioning to keep the air drier. But if it's just cold weather, most electronics don't mind cold weather at all. Unless it's severe cold, yes. Let's see here. Keen says, or Kian, hello Bob, the cushion of the cup is called a coaster. So if the plate is very hot, a cushion needs to be placed under it to protect the tabletop. What is this called? I'm pretty sure we call it a pot holder. You might call it a hot plate as well, although a hot plate is for warming up food as well. So don't quote me on this one. I call it a pot holder, Kian. From Marina, hi Teacher Bob, which item in your daily routine do you use the most and the least? I never use a lighter, or rarely. Coming up, we have like red pen and glasses. I definitely use those a lot, and sunglasses for sure, Marina. Those would be ones I use a lot. Okay. Oh, I forgot members only chat. Let me turn that on. Sorry, members. That's what I was supposed to be doing right now. Let's get to that. There we go. If you are a member, you can ask questions directly in the chat for only 5 more minutes. Sorry, I forgot to turn it on. From Dungs, good evening, sir. I want to know, how do you dry your clothes on cloudy and rainy days? Which items would you like to use instead of hangers? Thanks. We have drying racks. So we hang our clothes on drying racks. I don't think I have a picture of one. And we put our clothes outside if it's nice weather, or we dry them inside. We put a fan on them if it is raining outside. So we just have them inside and we dry them inside. Naomi says, what a great idea to make this lesson quiz mode. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. I'll admit, as the person doing the teaching, it's a little tricky. I think I'm doing okay. I have to figure out how to interact more with people in the chat. But I think we could have quite a bit of fun. Because I want to edit this into a smaller video later, I'm not saying talking to the people in the chat as much, but I have to figure out how to do that the next time I do. Freddie Wolf says, Bob, I love this kind of lesson. It makes us think and makes us work our brain. It facilitates to remember the words when you write it down. Do you agree? Yes. And that was kind of my idea here. It's like, I know it's fun to listen to me, but this way you kind of have to guess. And then it's fun to be right? Like as humans, it's a little competitive. So let's see. Jamal says, hi, Bob. What does mean stuff? Stuff is a general term. We also use things like, he has a lot of things. He has a lot of stuff. I'm going to help my friend move, but he has a lot of stuff. So it's like everything that person owns. Mode says, hello, everyone. Either I'm actually late or I just did that on purpose to use one of the phrases from Tuesday's video. Yes. How to describe being late. That lesson was because I was late. And someone I work with was late as well. Ralph, what's the name for an internet connection that disconnects repeatedly after a few minutes, like mine is doing today? We would say it's flaky or unreliable. So you might say, my internet's really flaky today. It means it works and stops working and works and stops working. Or you would say it's unreliable. Naomi saying hi to Lolly. Good to see. Yeah, but anyways, I am enjoying the quiz mode. Hopefully you are too. Ario, how are you doing? Long time no see. Your videos are in the evening here in Indonesia. What do you call a food that's no longer fresh and the food has a bad smell? We just say the food's gone bad. Like, oh, the ham's gone bad. Oh, the milk's gone bad. It's no longer safe to eat. Mode says, sorry I'm late. My alarm didn't go off. Very nice. Freddie, I'll be exhausted at the end, mais c'est une bonne fatigue. Oui, c'est ça. Freddie's saying hi to Mode. Good to see. From Ali, hi Bob, how are you doing? What kind of books are useful to enhance the vocabulary of B2 level? So at the A2, B1 level, you usually read things that are created for English learners. And at the B1 and certainly at the B2 level, you should be reading actual English books. Like you should be reading what I read as an English speaker. So just go and look for the New York Times bestseller list and get one of those books. Key Park says, I remember the word twist tie super clearly because in my language, we have no name for this stuff. Haha, now I call it twist tie. Very cool, directly. That's good. That's awesome to hear that you have adopted the English name for it. Hey, I'm going to, let me just check something here. Yes, I know I shortchanged the members this morning on chat, but I am going to go back to the lesson. So let me go back to subscriber mode for chat, and then we'll finish this lesson off. I have quite a few. I might be going really quickly. We'll see how it goes. When you read a book, I'll give you a hint. When you read a book, sometimes you need to mark the place where you are. Like if you're going to stop reading for the day, you put one of these in the book to mark the place where you have left off. That's another good phrase for you, where you've left off reading. So you would put one of these in, and we simply call this, I used the word mark already, didn't I? We call this a bookmark. So when you are reading a book, you will put a bookmark in. Don't fold the corner of the page. Unless you own the book, you can fold the corner of the page. Or do like me. I always try to remember where I was in the book. And sometimes it's hard to find my place back. These go on fridges. So I gave you a bit of a hint there already. We have quite a few of these on the side of our fridge because they don't stick on the front because our fridge is stainless steel. So that might give you a bit of a hint as well. Sometimes when you travel places, you might get some of these as souvenirs. We usually we use two words to describe these. Some people are probably guessing the one word. We call these fridge magnets. So I would put a fridge magnet on the fridge. You could just call it a magnet as well, but definitely I think most of our fridge magnets are from different places or businesses gave them to us. So this is something you take if you don't feel well. Maybe they come in a little bottle and maybe you have a prescription that says you need to take 4 a day, or maybe you take 1 with every meal. This is just a tiny little thing that you put in your mouth and you drink some water to swallow it. And it has a few names. Probably the most common name would be a pill. It could also be called a tablet or a capsule. You might just call this medicine, or you might call it a drug. But this particular shape here, we would call a pill or a capsule, okay? So if you have a headache, you might take some Advil, and it comes as a small pill, or you might call it a capsule. Either one is fine. Sometimes you need electricity far away from the outlet. Maybe you are working outside and you need to use a saw and you have to plug it in. You need one of these in order to bring electricity to the place where you are working. So you would hook one of these up, you would plug it in to the electrical outlet, and then you would plug whatever you're using into this, and then you would have electricity there. So I would call this an extension cord. So you might just call it a cord, but generally we call this an extension cord. We have a number of extension cords on the farm. We have several. We have quite a few extension cords. I'm trying to use all the words from earlier. But yes, if you needed to use something. Now, extension cable, in my part of the world, we wouldn't use that, but we would definitely call this an extension cord. This was quite popular a few years ago. It's not very popular now. I think you're going to be able to guess this one because the name is on the bottle. So let me just put this on the screen right away. This is called hand sanitizer. Let me say that again if you're trying to learn how to pronounce it. This is called hand sanitizer. This was everywhere during the pandemic. There were bottles of hand sanitizer all over the place. So definitely something you use to kill bacteria and germs on your hands. Hand sanitizer. This is another thing that used to be quite common, but I still see them now when people are sick. In North America, some people have started wearing these just in general when they are sick. And hopefully this isn't bringing back bad memories for some of you, but we would call this a mask, or we would call it a face mask. Okay, so the short version would be to just call it a mask. The full version would be to call it a face mask. And yes, we still need to wear these some places. Last time I went to the dentist, I didn't need one. But when I went to the doctor last fall, I did need one. So it just depends where you are going. These are things that you put in your hair to hold your hair. And the name of these, what we call them here, has my name in it, by the way. I don't use these. I have really short hair, so obviously I do not need to use these. But these are things you would put in your hair. If you had long hair and you wanted to hold your hair back, you would put these in your hair. They have a couple names here in my part of the world. We would call them a bobby pin, or we might just call them hairpins. But we usually call this exact type of pin a bobby pin, okay? So hairpin or bobby pin, but in my part of the world, we call these bobby pins. So like I said, it has my name in it. By the way, when I was a little kid, instead of Bob the Canadian, I guess I was Bobby the Canadian. That's like a cute version of my name for when you are a little kid. Now, some people guessed this, I'm sure, for the last one. This is similar to a bobby pin. It's used to hold hair as well. And we would call this a hair clip. I know I didn't give you enough time maybe to think of that one, but we would call this a hair clip. This is something that you use to hold your hair. I don't use these either. My hair is too short. They're fun to play with though, because they're like you squeeze them and they open, and then you can, I don't know why I find them fun to play with. So this is not a phone. Okay. So my phone has something on the outside, like that you can, I'm not going to take it off, but yeah, you can take it off, right? It's just an extra little bit of protection. When you buy a phone, you want it to be protected in case you drop it or you don't want to accidentally scratch it. So you will buy one of these. We call this a phone case or just a case. You could call it a phone cover as well. I need a cover for my phone. I think the most common word here though would be case or phone case. When my kids buy a phone, I always say you should buy a phone case for your phone to protect it. But yes, you could call it a cell phone case, a phone case, a cell phone cover, a phone cover, lots of different names for it. But this is definitely the one I would use most. Sometimes during my lessons, oh, there's one right here. Sometimes is this like, it's almost the same one, not quite. Sometimes during my lesson, there is a certain kind of insect, the name I don't want to say because the name is in the name of this, that is around. And then I don't want to use the verb either. If I use the name of the insect and the verb, you'll know the name of this item. So should I just show you? I think most people will have gotten it. This is a fly swatter. So you use a fly swatter to kill flies. You can use it to kill mosquitoes and other things as well, but generally we will use a fly swatter to kill flies. I see a lot of other fun names in the chat right now, but this is definitely, in my part of the world at least, a fly swatter. This is a specific color. This is what teachers use, sometimes teachers use when they look at students' work and they are what I call grading or marking the work. So I'm looking for the color and then the name of the item. So when you use that item as a teacher, It's some teachers don't use these because some kids don't like that color ink, but this is simply a red pen. You could call this a pen, a ballpoint pen, a red pen. There are a lot of different names, but specifically, if I wanted this color, I would say, Jen, do we have any red pens in the house? Or I might go to the office at school and say, hey, can I get a couple red pens? I need to grade a test. I have these. They're right here. There's a couple different names for them depending on what they do. You can see my light reflecting in these. I wear these when I read. So I have a specific kind of these. But I think hopefully, and then there's an old-fashioned name for these as well. We simply call these glasses. If you use them just to read, you might call them reading glasses. So these are my reading glasses. But in general, we call them glasses. The old-fashioned term for this would be spectacles. We don't use that word anymore, but simply using glasses is correct. Glasses. And then maybe you wear these instead. I know there are several people in my family that wear these. Oh, by the way, you wear glasses so that you can see better, and you wear these so that you can see better. And there's a couple different, well, there's the longer name and a shorter name for these, but you put them in your eye, and then or eyes, one in each eye, and then you can see better. We call these contacts or contact lenses. So the full name would be contact lenses, but we just use the shorter version, contacts. Like I think 2 of my kids wear contacts. Jen wears contacts. I could also say Jen wears contact lenses. Either would be fine, but the short version would just be contacts. Yes. So these are not the Apple version. The Apple version of these are called AirPods. These are something you put in your ears when you want to listen to music. I don't have the bigger version. There's a bigger version that are called headphones, but these are a smaller version that go in your ears. And they probably have a number of different names, but here in Canada, we call these earbuds. You might call them earphones, but I think earbuds, if they're the Apple version, the small ones, you call them AirPods. You use the actual name, but you use these if you want to listen to music. Sometimes it's bright outside. We had these, and these look a little darker. The lenses are a little darker because when you go outside on a very hot, sunny day, sometimes it's nice to wear a pair of these so that it's not as bright outside. So we would call these sunglasses, all one word, shades. Some people call them shades. That's like a cooler term for them. But I call these sunglasses. But if I got nice new sunglasses, someone might say, hey, nice shades. So there's a little bit of a, not slang, more of a common term, informal term. But these are definitely sunglasses. You wear them when it is sunny outside. And this is the last one. This is something I use when the math is really, really hard. I can do some math in my head. Although in one of my videos the other day, I tried to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit and I forgot the simple formula that I usually use. But this is something you would use if you need to do some math. And if it's difficult math, something like you can add 2 plus 2 in your head. But if you have to add 6 times 7 divide 4 plus 1.37 times 3%, you would use a calculator. So a calculator is a very, very handy little device that you can use in order to do math. When you have to do some math calculations, you can use a calculator. Hey, that's the end of the very first quiz mode. I liked it. I think it takes a little longer than I expected, but that's fine. But thanks for participating. I am going to finish off with the questions, some questions from the forum. Irina says, hi, a very good lesson. Do you use the word thingamajig? Thank you. Yes. When we don't know the name for something, this is something that you can use to put your phone on a tripod. I might call this a thingamajig because I don't know the exact name. Phone holder, I guess. But I might say, hey, Jen, where's the thingamajig for putting my phone on a tripod? So yes, we do definitely use it. Hey, can you guys just in the chat tell me if you like quiz mode? I might do one quiz mode a month going forward. I might do another one next week just for fun. But after that, I might do one a month. We'll see. Just tell me if you liked it or not. Axmed says, hello, teacher. How are you? I have no question. I was greeting you only. Well, hi. I hope you are having a good day wherever you are. Let's see here. Ralph, when you fold the edge of a book to remember the position where you left, what's the name for it? We call it a donkey ear. We call it dog ear. You dog ear the book. I'm pretty sure that's what I call it. Dog ear the book. Is that what it's called? I think so, yes. When you fold, yeah. So similar, just a different animal. Last question. Noah, have you ever seen a bear in Canada, or where are they in Canada? Yes, I have. If you go really far north in Ontario, there are bears. There are no bears where I live, but I have twice in my life seen a bear. I think I saw a bear out west, and I think I saw a bear in northern Ontario. So, okay, so in the chat, people are like, I liked quiz mode. Quiz mode was fun, but now my coffee is cold. That's what Ralph says. Key Park says, I like it. Everyone seems to have liked it. It's a little more engaging. So I might do quiz mode every other week or once a month. I will go back though, just so you know, it will be an old lesson redone as quiz mode. So if you know the lesson, you can maybe study in advance, but that's up to you as well. Pedro says do more as well. Anyways, I need to get going. All the questions are done. Bye, everyone. Thank you for hanging out and learning a little bit of English. I'm happy that you could exercise your brain this morning and practice a little bit. And I'll see you Tuesday with another English lesson with a new lesson. So bye. Have a good Friday and have a great weekend. I know I will.